Hi all, this is Skate, and the purpose of this video is to break down the Blitz Biathlon, the new event in which we can potentially obtain the Chieftain T95, which is the Tier 8 British premium tank. We're going to dive straight in with a lot of details, and there's a lot to cover, there's a lot of calculations, there's even a bit of psychology in this video. Yeah, it's going to get interesting. Right, okay, so when you look at this event, you have the stages all across the middle. And they look good. Low figures, looks fairly easy to obtain. However, to understand this event, we must first understand what we need to obtain. So let's start with trophies. For every 500 base XP you obtain, you will equal 10 trophies. For every 500 base XP with a premium account on, you will get 15 trophies. And for every one mission you complete, you will get 50 trophies. Then we're looking at projectiles. Basically, for every selection of trophies you accrue to unlock a stage, you can then use that to unlock a projectile. Projectiles, you can get a total of 6 during the event, which then unlock the ability to get emblems. Basically, as soon as a projectile is collected, your next 5 games are then basically monitored and reviewed. Whichever one of those 5 games has the best or highest base XP is how many emblems you will accrue. So moving on to there, back to the main screen, you can see there are 3 projectiles which you can earn across the main lines. They're the ones you need to try and do to try and get to the Chieftain. So, the very first stage you only need 100 emblems, and the second one you need 150. Only 250 emblems so far, and then you will get this. You need a game with 1100 base XP. So you got a 1 in 5 chance basically, because it's taken from your 5 games. But you need to make it a very, very good game. If you don't, and you don't get enough to pass this stage, you can then go back, spend again very little, only 200 emblems, to then unlock this part and do this bit with another 250 emblems and earn yourself another projectile. This gives you another 5 games and another 1 in 5 chance of getting the highest base XP required. So let's assume you've achieved it and you're, let's just say you've got like 2000 base XP, 1000 over 2 games. You're on to the next set. This is where it gets interesting, guys. You now need 1150. So you've still got some emblems left over from the last stage. However, if you don't, this is where it gets a bit tough. So you remember, you use your trophies back here to then get you an extra emblem. If we click along to this one, 17,500 trophies this time. So if you fail to get your emblems, basically you need to earn a shed ton more trophies, which is done by the missions and doing battles. But let's say you did it with no problem, you had some masteries, and you get to this stage. This time you need 1200 emblems. You don't do it, you can then go get another projectile, which allows you to do another 5 games, and that again costs 17,500. So in total, to get the Chieftain, how many emblems are required? Well, let's just assume you're going to go for the 4 projectiles, which is the cheap one at the start and the 3 along the line, and you're going to skip those ludicrously expensive ones. To do that, you're only going to need 2,700 trophies, which is very easy to do with the missions and just playing battles. Very easy, guys. Look at the emblems, though. The emblems, you need 5,800. So to do it without getting that crazy expensive 2 extra projectiles, your 4 best games, because you're going to have 4 projectiles and you're skipping the 2 crazy expensive ones, they need to come to a total of 5,800 base XP. So that's 5,800 base XP, and you're dividing that by 4 games. You need 4 games with a minimum base XP of 1,450 to achieve the Chieftain without getting the 2 crazy expensive projectiles. So you've got 4 projectiles going the normal route without those extra 2 crazy expensive ones. It can get a bit confusing here. But to do that, basically you need those 4 cheap projectiles and you can get the Chieftain without paying anything for it. But to do that, you need 1,450 base XP. Now, if you didn't achieve that, which is basically whatever you're in a mastery, pretty much, because here's an example for you. Here's a recent KV2 game of mine. Not crazy high damage, but It's 3,377 damage. So mastery, you can see I had a Kolobanov's. Important as well. This is in a tier 7 game, which you accrue more base XP by shooting higher targets. And I got my Kolobanov's because it was supremacy. But I got 1,272 base XP. So those games, if I had that as my best 4 games, it wouldn't be enough to get the Chieftain for free. Just a couple of other examples for you. AMX50B, recent game I had, 3,467 damage. We won, and I got 989 base XP. So 4 games tier 10 with over 3,500 damage. It's a fairly good game, but not enough base XP. E100, 3,182, 1,021 base XP. I'm just cycling through pictures for base XP examples. Here's one that would have passed. FE215B, 6,324 damage, 1,751 base XP. That was a damn fun, good game. But how often does that happen in 5 battles? I mean, even a good game, IS6. I got a mastery in an IS6 this week. 4,359 damage. It was a birthday, so I got 250,000 credits, but that's got nothing to do with this. So a mastery tier 9 game in an IS6, 4,359 damage, and I got 1,333 base XP. So even a 4,000 plus damage game in an IS6 against higher tier only gave me 1,333 base XP, which means even 4 of those games wouldn't be enough. So basically, if you want to get the Chieftain for free without getting the extra projectiles, which we will break down in a minute as well, you are talking crazy good games. Now, I'm not saying that is not possible. It is very much possible. However, to consistently do it once every 5 games is not, well, it's not realistic for the vast majority of the player base. Not every time, once in every 5 games anyway. But then you're thinking, oh, it also said that in Diamond, etc., you get like a 1.5 or 1.3% multiplier on this. How often do you get really, really good games when you're facing people who are just as good? Hypothetically, if you're in a top league and you're a 60-70% player, your team in that very, very high leagues is going to be 60-70% players, and the enemy is going to be 60-70% players. Pulling a mastery out at that point, it's possible, it's happened. It's few and far between because everybody is at equal standards, so being able to outclass your team by that level makes it more difficult. Okay, so those extra 2 projectiles are going to cost us 17,500 trophies each, which I've unlocked on the test account to give you an example, but you'll see there's 2,300 gold it will cost you. And this is where the psychology comes into a bit, because when you're at this stage and you're so close, 2,300 gold doesn't seem that bad for a very good shot at getting closer to the Chieftain. And once you've done that, oh, I'm just shy again. Oh look, the next one's 17,500 for my 6th projectile. 2,300 gold doesn't sound so bad. Smaller values seem less of a concern than buying it. If that said 15,000 like it did at the start, you'd instantly go, no. But when it's in smaller values like that, people are more inclined to think, oh, it's not that much, I'll just hit the button and click it. See things like that in marketing all the time. Another nice example, it works on a marketing strategy side of things. When people say something like, oh, it'll only take 26 weeks, it sounds a damn sight better than saying it takes 6 months. 26 weeks is pretty much 6 months. However, from a psychological perspective, you hear weeks, you think it's a lower value. It's the same perspective. Instead of something costing, say, £30 or $30, it's why you see it for £29.99 or $29.99, so on and so forth. It's because even though it's pretty much exactly the same thing in your head, it's processed slightly different. Kind of applies here. You're paying small sums of gold instead of one big whack. It's quite clever. It's something I do see an awful lot of, outside of, obviously, this, my work. It all comes down to figures, how much things appear to be. But all that being said, it's clever in the way it's done. But aside from that, it also means that those who perform better don't have to pay as much for the tank. If you actually did just the middle 6 row and had nothing else in terms of emblem, you'd pay 6,000 gold for the Chieftain. So what we've established pretty much, without even going down the 17,500 damn trophies, which I will go down now, but what we've established is you can get the Chieftain for 6,000 gold by going just down the middle line. If you go into this thinking you're getting the Chieftain for free, you're going to come out feeling pretty disappointed, except for a small percentage of the player base. If you go into this thinking I will get a discounted Chieftain and you really want this tank, you can get it at a discounted rate, especially if you want to compare it to how much you had to pay at the Winter Blitz Fair. But yeah, finishing that middle row will get you the Chieftain discounted to 6,000 gold. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think that's bad. I mean, you're not getting the Chieftain for free at that point, granted. But it's a tier 8 tank, which I know a lot of people do want. And it's still cheaper than all the other tier 8 premium tanks. So, I would actually look at this event from the perspective of you will get a Chieftain at a discounted gold value in comparison to most other tier 8 tanks, providing how well you do, of course. What I would personally avoid is paying for these two, the 17,500 extra trophies. That is quite crafty and annoying, because those extra 2 projectiles, 17,500 gold. Let's have a look at the trophies and how much and how long that's going to take you, and that is the potential gamble you want to try and avoid. At that point, that's what's going to cost you 2,319 each. It's costing you 5,000 pretty much to get those 2 projectiles in gold. It's only 6,000 just to go straight to the Chieftain at this point, and there's no gamble there. You get the Chieftain. I also like the fact there's no 5% crate chance of getting it here. If you get to that point, you can spend what you want to spend, or you don't spend anything, depending how well you performed, of course. This is the part where it gets clever, though. The trophies that we mentioned earlier. So for those 2, you need 35,000 to get those extra 2 projectiles, to bump you from 4 projectiles to 6 projectiles. Now remember, the first 4 projectiles realistically are only going to cost you around 2,500 trophies. That's it. Very easily achievable. And I do mean very easily achievable. However, those extra 2 projectiles are going to cost you 35,000 trophies. From missions you can get, if you do all 6 resets, 300 trophies a day. Over the 10 days, that gives you 3,000 trophies. So that's 35,000 trophies needed. Minus the 3,000 from missions, you still need 32,000 trophies to get those extra 2 projectiles. Now, if you had 1,000 base XP in every game, again, not possible. With premium time, that gives you 30 trophies. So you get your remainder, which is the 32,000 trophies, divided by 30 trophies, which you get per game at 1,000 base XP. With premium time, you need a total of 1,066 battles in 10 days. Now a couple, holy crap, a couple of very, very, very important things here. These are hugely generous figures. These are assuming that every game you do is over 1,000 XP. If you have 999 base XP, you only get 15 trophies. Combine that with the fact that you need to hit every single mission in the 10 days to get those 3,000. In my eyes, it's just not possible. But remember, to do the first 4, you need 2,700 of these trophies. Pretty damn easy. It's those extra 2 projectiles is where the shafting happens. It's harsh, but it's true. So with all that said and done, that is the Chieftain Blitz Biathlon event. There's a small percentage which is going to get this for free. I think it's a very, very, very small percentage. The vast majority of the player base are gonna have to pay for it. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because if you get all 4 of them done, and you have some left over, you're paying less than 6,000 for a tier 8 premium tank. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. 6,000 is assuming you have 0 emblems left after those 4. You could end up in a circumstance where you're really, really close but not enough, and it's going to be even less again. Or you could end up miles away. It all depends how those games go. So it is a bit RNG based, and it depends how you perform during that time. In short, I hate those 2-second projectiles. I think that's very crafty and very annoying because of the cost on them. But aside from that, there's a potential to get a tier 8 premium tank for cheap. It won't be for free for the vast majority of people, but it'll be discounted. It'll be cheap. Cheaper than the other tier 8 premium tanks, which you can buy from the tech tree anyway. So if you're going into this expecting to get a tier 8 premium tank cheap, you can get one. Or you can get one at a reasonable... I can't believe I'm saying that. You're getting it at a reasonable price. It's just those extra 2 trophies, because if people are hanging on trying to get those trophies, and they end up spending the gold on those trophies, they may end up having to spend the gold to get the Chieftain anyway. So that's a bit crafty and a bit annoying. If those 2 weren't there, and they just gave you 4 projectiles and went, do as well as you can, and then spend the rest in gold, you'll get it discounted, it would be a nice little event, which we know would have to spend something. And even if they said, do as well as you can, you could get it for free, but the vast majority you're going to have to pay a percentage of gold, I think we'd all just sit there and go, fair enough. At least we know. I wouldn't mind a discounted tier 8 tank, depending on how much discount, of course. But instead, I feel those projectiles those extra 2 projectiles spoil this event. I really do think that. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't mind it. And on the plus side, we have to look at the bright side. If you paid for it in gold, say for example 3, 4, 5,000, you get a tier 8 tank for that price. You're actually getting the tier 8 tank. You're not getting a 5% chance of getting the tier 8 tank. I'm just glad there's no crates on this one. I hate crates. But yeah, that's pretty much the event. I'm just going to end up rambling now. We've pretty much covered everything. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope it has been informative, if not somewhat confusing with the amount of numbers which have been thrown in here and there. But thank you all for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.